The glass shattered into 1,000 pieces as Emma's trembling hands dropped the crystal vase. She watched in horror as the billionaire's most prized possession lay destroyed at her feet. His face turned pale. The room fell silent. And that's when everything changed forever. But before we get to how Emma ended up in this nightmare, let me tell you about the day that started it all. The day she helped a stranger in the rain. Emma Wilson was 23 years old and worked at Rosie's Diner on 5th Street. She wasn't rich. She wasn't famous. She was just a simple girl trying to make ends meet in the big city of Chicago. Her apartment was tiny. Her clothes were old. But her heart? Her heart was made of pure gold. Every morning, Emma woke up at 5 o'clock. She'd put on her yellow waitress uniform with the little white apron. She'd tie her brown hair into a ponytail. Then she'd walk 15 blocks to the diner because she couldn't afford the bus fare. That money went to her little sister's medicine instead. Life was hard for Emma, but she never complained. She just smiled and kept going. It was a Tuesday morning when everything changed. The sky was angry and gray. Rain poured down like someone had turned on a giant faucet in the clouds. Emma was walking to work, holding her thin jacket over her head. It barely kept her dry. That's when she saw him. An old man was sitting on the sidewalk. He was soaking wet. His clothes were torn and dirty. He was shivering so badly that his whole body shook. Most people walked right past him. They didn't even look down. They were too busy rushing to their important jobs and important meetings. But Emma stopped. She knew what it felt like to be invisible, to be the person everyone ignored. "Sir, are you okay?" she asked softly. The old man looked up. His eyes were kind but tired. Very, very tired. "I'm fine, young lady," he said. But his voice was weak. Emma didn't believe him. She could see he was not fine. Not even close. She looked at her watch. If she didn't hurry, she'd be late for work. Mrs. Patterson, her boss, would be angry. She might even fire her. Emma needed this job. She needed every single dollar. But she couldn't just walk away. "Here," Emma said, taking off her jacket. "Please take this." "No, no," the old man protested. "You'll get sick." "I'll be okay," Emma lied. She was already cold, but he needed it more. She draped the jacket over his shoulders. Then she reached into her purse. Inside was $23. It was all the money she had until Friday. It was supposed to buy groceries for the whole week. Emma stared at those bills for a long moment. Her stomach was already growling. She'd skipped dinner last night to save money. But looking at this old man, cold and alone, she made her choice. "Please," she said, pressing $15 into his hand. "Get yourself some hot food, and maybe find shelter." The old man's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you do this for a stranger?" Emma smiled. It was a real smile that reached her eyes. "Because someone once told me that kindness is the only thing we can give that costs nothing, but means everything." She squeezed his hand gently and then ran off into the rain. She was already 10 minutes late. What Emma didn't know was that the old man watched her disappear around the corner. And what she really didn't know was that his hand trembled as he pulled out a phone from his pocket. An expensive phone. The kind that didn't belong to a homeless person. "Thomas," he said into the phone, "find out everything about that girl. Everything." Emma burst through the diner doors, dripping wet and breathing hard. "You're late," Mrs. Patterson barked. She was a large woman with a permanent frown. "Again! I'm sorry, Mrs. Patterson, I don't want excuses. Get to work before I find someone who actually wants this job." Emma nodded and rushed to tie her apron. Her fingers were so cold they barely worked. She spent the rest of the morning serving coffee and pancakes with a smile, even though her stomach ached with hunger. At lunch, her friend Jenna slipped her half a sandwich. "You look pale," Jenna whispered. "Eat." Emma wanted to refuse, but she was so hungry. She ate it in 3 bites and almost cried from gratitude. The day dragged on. Pour coffee, take orders, clean tables, smile, repeat. By 6 o'clock, Emma's feet hurt so badly she wanted to sit down and never get up. "Emma," Mrs. Patterson called, "Table 7 needs attention." Emma grabbed her notepad and walked over. Table 7 was in the corner. A man sat there alone. He wore an expensive suit, the kind Emma had only seen in magazines. His watch probably cost more than her entire year's rent. "Good evening," Emma said politely. "What can I get for you?" The man looked up. He had sharp blue eyes and perfectly styled black hair. He studied Emma's face carefully, too carefully. It made her nervous. "Just coffee," he said. His voice was smooth and deep. "Black." Emma nodded and hurried away. Something about him made her uncomfortable, like he was looking right through her. She brought the coffee and tried to leave quickly. "Wait," the man said. Emma turned back. "You're Emma Wilson, correct?" Her heart jumped. How did he know her name? She glanced down at her name tag. Of course. That's how. "Yes, sir. Is there something else you need?" "My name is Alexander Hunt," he said, extending his hand. Emma shook it awkwardly. His hand was warm and strong. Hers was cold and rough from work. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Hunt." "I own Hunt Industries," he continued, watching her face. Emma nodded politely. She had no idea what that was. She didn't follow business news. She barely had time to sleep, much less read newspapers. "That's wonderful," she said, trying to sound impressed. Alexander's lips twitched like he was trying not to smile. "You have no idea who I am, do you?" Emma's face turned red. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't really—" "Don't apologize," he interrupted. "It's refreshing." There was something strange in his eyes, like he was testing her somehow. "Well, if there's nothing else," Emma said, backing away. "Actually, there is something else," Alexander said. He pulled out a business card. "I'd like you to come to my office tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Emma stared at the card. It was thick and expensive looking. Gold letters spelled out his name and address. "Why?" she asked suspiciously. "I have a proposition for you." "I'm not interested in that kind of proposition," Emma said firmly, putting the card on the table. Alexander's eyes widened. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. It was a rich, genuine sound. "Not that kind of proposition," he said, still smiling. "A job offer." "I have a job. A better job, much better." Emma hesitated. This felt wrong. People like him didn't just offer people like her better jobs. There had to be a catch. "I don't understand." "You will," Alexander said mysteriously. 10 o'clock. My office. Please come." He stood up, left $30 for a $3 coffee, and walked out. Emma stood there, confused and suspicious. She picked up the card and stared at it. "What was that about?" Jenna asked, appearing at her elbow. "I have no idea." That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the strange man and his offer. Should she go? Was it safe? What did he want? By morning, she'd made her decision. She'd go. But only because she was curious. And maybe, just maybe, because a tiny part of her hoped things could get better. She put on her only nice outfit, a simple blue dress that was 5 years old but still clean. She brushed her hair until it shined. She even put on a little bit of lip gloss that Jenna had given her for Christmas. The address led to the tallest building downtown. Emma craned her neck back to see the top. It seemed to touch the clouds. Inside, everything was marble and glass. Emma felt completely out of place. People in expensive clothes rushed past her. Nobody smiled. "Can I help you?" a woman at the front desk asked. She looked Emma up and down like she was a piece of dirt. "I'm here to see Mr. Hunt. He asked me to come at 10. The woman's eyebrows shot up. "You have an appointment with Mr. Hunt?" "Yes." Your name? Emma Wilson. The woman typed on her computer. Her expression changed from dismissive to shocked. Go right up, 60th floor. Someone will meet you. Emma's hands shook as she entered the elevator. The 60th floor? How tall was this building? The elevator moved so fast her stomach flipped. When the doors opened, a young man in a perfect suit was waiting. Ms. Wilson, please follow me. He led her through hallways with paintings that probably cost more than her life. Finally, they reached a huge wooden door. Mr. Hunt is expecting you, the young man said, opening the door. Emma walked in and gasped. The office was enormous. Windows covered one entire wall, showing the whole city below. The furniture looked like it belonged in a palace, and behind a massive desk sat Alexander Hunt. But he wasn't alone. Sitting in the chair across from him was the old man, the one Emma had helped in the rain. Except he wasn't dressed in torn clothes anymore. He wore a suit just as expensive as Alexander's. His hair was perfectly combed. He looked powerful. Emma's mind spun. What was happening? Hello, Emma, the old man said, standing up. Thank you for coming. I don't understand, Emma stammered. Please sit down, Alexander said gently. Emma sat. Her legs felt like jelly. Emma, the old man began, my name is Robert Hunt. Alexander is my son. Emma looked between them. They had the same eyes, the same strong jaw. That morning in the rain, Robert continued, I was testing something. Testing what? Emma whispered. Humanity, he said simply. I've been sick, very sick. The doctors say I don't have much time left. Before I die, I wanted to know if there were still good people in this world. Real kindness. Not people being nice because they want something. Tears filled Emma's eyes. So, you pretended to be homeless? Robert nodded. I sat on that street corner for 3 days. Hundreds of people passed me. Thousands. Not one person stopped. Except you. You gave me your jacket, Robert said, his voice breaking. You gave me almost all your money, and you were already struggling. How do you know that? Emma asked. We've been watching you this week, Alexander admitted. We know about your sister's medical bills, your tiny apartment, how you skip meals to save money, how you walk to work in the rain. Emma felt exposed, vulnerable. Why would you watch me? Robert leaned forward. Because I want to give you something that will change your life. I don't want charity, Emma said quickly. It's not charity, Alexander said. It's a job. We want you to work for Hunt Industries. Doing what? I'm a waitress. I don't know anything about business. We'll teach you, Robert said. But more importantly, we want you to help us with something special. A foundation we're starting, for people who need help. Real help. Emma's head spun. This couldn't be real. Why me? Because you understand, Robert said softly. You know what it's like to struggle, to need help, and you still chose to help others. That's rare. That's precious. Emma wanted to believe them, but it seemed too good to be true. I need time to think, she said. Of course, Alexander said. But Emma, we're serious. This offer is real. Emma stood up on shaky legs. Thank you. I'll think about it. She practically ran out of the office. Her mind was chaos. Could this really be happening? To her? That night, she told Jenna everything. Are you crazy? Jenna screamed. Say yes, this is a miracle. But what if it's a trick? Then you'll figure it out. But Emma, what if it's not? What if this is your chance? Emma thought about her sister, about the medical bills, about walking in the rain every morning, about being hungry. The next day, she went back to the Hunt building. I'll do it, she told Alexander. He smiled, a real, genuine smile. Excellent. When can you start? Today? Perfect. And just like that, Emma's life changed. They gave her an office, an actual office with her name on the door. They gave her a salary that made her cry. They gave her hope. The first few weeks were overwhelming. Emma had to learn so much about business, about the foundation, about how rich people operated. But Alexander was patient. He taught her everything, and slowly, something else started to happen. Emma began to notice things about Alexander. The way he smiled when he thought nobody was looking. How he always made sure she ate lunch. The way his eyes followed her when she walked across the room. And she started to feel things, too. Things that scared her. One day, 2 months after she started, Alexander asked her to stay late. They were working on a big presentation for the foundation. "You're doing amazing work," he said, looking at her laptop screen. "Thank you," Emma replied. She was hyper-aware of how close he was standing. "Emma," Alexander said softly, "can I ask you something personal?" Her heart raced. "Okay. Why are you always so kind, even when people don't deserve it?" Emma thought carefully. "Because I think everyone is fighting a battle we don't know about. And maybe one act of kindness is the thing that keeps them going." Alexander stared at her. Something intense burned in his eyes. "You're remarkable," he whispered. "I'm really not," Emma said, her cheeks burning. "Yes, you are." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her cheek. Emma's breath caught. This was her boss. This was Alexander Hunt. Billionaire. Powerful businessman. Completely out of her league. But the way he was looking at her. "Alexander," she breathed. "I know I shouldn't," he said. "I know this is unprofessional, but Emma, I can't stop thinking about you." Before Emma could respond, the door burst open. A woman stood there. She was stunning. Perfect makeup, designer clothes. Diamonds dripping from her ears and neck. "Alexander, darling," she said, walking in like she owned the place. Alexander stepped back from Emma quickly. Too quickly. "Victoria," he said. His voice was strained. The woman, Victoria, looked at Emma like she was an insect. "Who's this?" she asked, her smile sharp as a knife. "This is Emma Wilson. She works for the foundation." "How sweet," Victoria said, though her tone suggested it was anything but sweet. She turned to Alexander. "We need to talk. About the engagement party." Emma felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. Engagement party? Alexander was engaged? "Emma, can you excuse us?" Alexander said. He wouldn't meet her eyes. Emma nodded numbly and walked out. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were burning. He was engaged. Of course he was. Men like Alexander Hunt didn't fall for simple girls like Emma Wilson. What had she been thinking? She grabbed her purse and left the building. She didn't even care if she got fired. That night, Emma cried for the first time in years. Real, ugly crying. Because for a brief, beautiful moment, she'd let herself dream. The next morning, Alexander called her. "Emma, please come in. We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about." "Yes, there is. Please." Against her better judgment, Emma went. Alexander was pacing his office when she arrived. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept. "It's not what you think," he said immediately. "You're engaged." "It's a business arrangement. Victoria's father and my father arranged it years ago. I don't love her." "That doesn't matter." "It does matter," Alexander said desperately. "Because I'm in love with you." Emma's heart stopped. "What?" "I'm in love with you, Emma. I have been since the moment I saw you in that diner. So kind, so genuine, so different from everyone else in my world." "But you're engaged." "I'm breaking it off. I've already told my father." "Alexander, I can't be the reason." "You're not the reason. Victoria and we're wrong for each other. We both know it. This was just the push I needed to finally end it." Emma wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. This is crazy, she whispered. I know, Alexander said, moving closer. But when I'm with you, I feel real, like I can be myself. Not Alexander Hunt, CEO, just me. I'm nobody, Emma said. I'm just a girl from the South Side who got lucky. You're everything, Alexander said fiercely. He took her hands. Emma, I know this is fast. I know this is complicated, but I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Emma looked into his eyes and saw the truth there. He meant it. I care about you too, she admitted softly. Alexander's face lit up like the sun. Yeah? Yeah. He pulled her close and kissed her. And in that moment, Emma forgot about everything else. The differences between them, the complications, the world outside this office. All that mattered was this feeling, this impossible, beautiful feeling. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Alexander spent every spare moment together. He showed her his world, fancy restaurants, art galleries, his private beach house. But Emma also showed him her world, the diner where she used to work, the small community center where she volunteered, the simple pleasures of walking in the park. And Alexander fell even more in love. Robert Hunt approved completely. He told Emma she was exactly what his son needed. Someone real, someone grounded. But not everyone was happy. Victoria was furious. She spread rumors about Emma, called her a gold digger, said she was using Alexander. Some of Alexander's business associates agreed. They whispered behind Emma's back. She doesn't belong here. She's not one of us. He'll get bored eventually. Emma tried to ignore it, but it hurt. Deep down, a part of her wondered if they were right. Maybe she didn't belong in this world. One night, 4 months after Emma started working at Hunt Industries, Alexander invited her to a charity gala. It was the biggest event of the year. All of Chicago's elite would be there. I want you by my side, Alexander said, as my girlfriend. No more hiding. Emma was terrified, but she agreed. Alexander bought her a dress. It was the most beautiful thing Emma had ever seen. Deep blue silk that made her feel like a princess. The gala was held at the Grand Hotel. Emma had never seen so much wealth in one place. Diamonds, gold, chandeliers that probably cost more than most houses. She held tight to Alexander's arm as they walked in. Everyone stared. Emma heard the whispers. That's her. The waitress. What is Alexander thinking? But Alexander just smiled down at her. Ignore them. You're perfect. For a while, everything was fine. Emma even started to relax. Alexander introduced her to people. Most were polite, even if they seemed confused. Then Victoria arrived. She wore a dress that probably cost as much as a car. Her eyes locked on Emma with pure hatred. Alexander, Victoria said, approaching them, we need to talk. There's nothing to discuss, Victoria. Really? Not even the fact that your little girlfriend is a fraud? Emma froze. What? Victoria's smile was cruel. I did some digging. Very interesting things about your past, Emma. Leave her alone, Alexander warned. Did you know she was fired from 3 jobs before the diner? Victoria continued loudly. People were starting to listen. Did you know her mother is in prison? Emma felt like the room was spinning. Her mother. God, she hadn't told Alexander about her mother. Victoria, enough! Alexander shouted. But Victoria wasn't done. She's using you, Alexander. Can't you see? She's probably been planning this from the moment she saw you in that diner. That's not true, Emma said, her voice shaking. Isn't it? You give some old man your jacket, knowing full well he was connected to the Hunt family? I didn't know, Emma cried. Sure you didn't, Victoria sneered. The crowd murmured. Emma could see doubt in their faces. They believed Victoria. Emma, let's go, Alexander said, taking her hand, but Emma pulled away. Maybe she's right. What? Maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I was fooling myself. Emma, no. But Emma was already running toward the exit, running away from the whispers, the stares, the judgment. She burst outside into the cold night air. Tears streamed down her face. She'd been so stupid, so naive to think a girl like her could ever fit into Alexander's world. Behind her, she heard footsteps. "Emma, wait!" It was Alexander chasing after her. "Please, just go back inside," Emma sobbed. "Not without you." "Alexander, they're right. I don't belong." "Stop," Alexander said firmly. He grabbed her shoulders gently. "Stop letting other people tell you who you are." "But my mother—" "I don't care what your mother did. You're not her. You're the most incredible person I've ever met." "You say that now." "I'll say it forever," Alexander interrupted. "Emma, I love you. Not because you're perfect. Not because you come from the right family or have the right connections. I love you because when I'm with you, I'm the best version of myself." Emma looked into his eyes and saw the truth. He meant every word. "I love you too," she whispered. Alexander kissed her right there on the street. And Emma didn't care who saw. Didn't care what they thought. This was real. This was right. They went back inside together, hand in hand. Victoria glared at them but said nothing more. The crowd parted as they walked through, and Emma realized something important. She didn't need their approval. She didn't need to belong to their world. She belonged with Alexander, and that was enough. The next few months were like a dream. Alexander officially broke his engagement to Victoria. He told his father and the board that Emma was the woman he loved. Some people objected. Some quit. But Alexander didn't care. Emma continued working with the foundation. She helped hundreds of families, gave them food, shelter, hope, and people started to see her differently. Not as the waitress who got lucky, but as someone who genuinely cared, someone who made a difference. Robert Hunt's health got worse, but before he passed, he told Emma something she'd never forget. "You saved my son," he said from his hospital bed. "You gave him something I never could, a real heart." Emma held his hand and cried. When Robert died, Alexander was devastated. But Emma was there, holding him, supporting him. 6 months later, on a perfect spring day, Alexander took Emma back to the street corner where she'd first helped Robert. "This is where it all started," Alexander said. "I remember," Emma replied, smiling. Alexander got down on one knee. Emma's hands flew to her mouth. "Emma Wilson," Alexander said, pulling out a ring. "You showed me what real kindness looks like, what real love looks like. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Emma cried. "Yes, yes, yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and they kissed, right there on that street corner. But this isn't where our story ends, because the next week, something happened that would change everything. Emma was working late at the office. She was going through some old files for the foundation when she found something strange. Papers that didn't make sense, payments to companies that didn't exist. At first, she thought it was a mistake, but the more she dug, the more wrong it seemed. Someone was stealing from the foundation, a lot of money, millions of dollars meant for families in need. Emma's hands shook as she realized what she was looking at. This was serious, very serious. She had to tell Alexander. But when she went to his office, she heard voices. Alexander was arguing with someone. Emma shouldn't have listened, but she couldn't help it. "You need to stop this investigation," a man's voice said. "No," Alexander replied firmly. "If someone's stealing from the foundation, they need to face consequences." "Even if it's family?" Emma's blood ran cold. "What are you saying, Uncle James?" "I'm saying your dear old dad didn't make all his money legally, Alexander. And when he started the foundation, he used it to hide some questionable funds. That's impossible. My father was human," James interrupted. And now your little girlfriend is about to expose everything. The foundation, the company. The Hunt name will be destroyed. Emma backed away from the door slowly. Her mind reeled. Robert Hunt? A criminal? It couldn't be true. He'd been so kind, so generous. But what if it was true? Emma returned to her desk in a daze. She stared at the papers spread in front of her. What should she do? If she told Alexander, it would destroy him. He loved his father, worshipped his memory. But if she didn't tell him, innocent people would continue to suffer. The foundation was supposed to help people, not steal from them. Emma picked up her phone. Her finger hovered over Alexander's number. Then she set it down. She needed to think, to figure out the right thing to do. But she didn't have time. The next morning, Emma arrived at work to find police cars everywhere. "What's happening?" she asked the security guard. "FBI raid?" he said grimly. "They're investigating the foundation." Emma's heart sank. She rushed inside and found Alexander in his office. He looked destroyed. "They know," he said flatly. "They know about my father's crimes, about the money laundering." "Alexander, He looked at her sharply. "Did you report us?" "What? No. The FBI says someone from inside tipped them off. Was it you?" "No. Alexander, I would never—" But she could see the doubt in his eyes, and it broke her heart. "I found some papers yesterday," Emma admitted. "I was going to tell you, but I wanted to talk to you first. I swear." "Papers? What papers?" "Evidence of the stealing. I don't know who's doing it, but someone is taking money from the foundation. A lot of money." Alexander ran his hands through his hair. "This is a nightmare." "We'll figure it out," Emma said, touching his arm, but Alexander pulled away. "Maybe Victoria was right. Maybe you are a fraud." Emma felt like she'd been slapped. "You don't mean that." "How do I know?" Alexander said, his voice rising. "How do I know you didn't plan this whole thing? Get close to me so you could destroy my family?" "Because I love you," Emma shouted. Tears streamed down her face. "I love you, Alexander. I would never hurt you." They stared at each other. The silence was heavy and painful. Finally, Alexander spoke. "I need time. To think. To figure out what's true and what's not." "Alexander." "Please go, Emma." Emma's world shattered. But she nodded and left. Outside the building, reporters swarmed her. "Ms. Wilson, did you know about Robert Hunt's crimes?" "Ms. Wilson, are you involved in the money laundering?" "Ms. Wilson, is it true you're a con artist?" Emma pushed through them, tears blinding her. She went home to her small apartment, the one she'd kept even after getting her new job, just in case this all fell apart, and now it had. Emma sat on her bed and stared at the engagement ring on her finger. It sparkled even in the dim light. She'd been so happy, so hopeful, and now everything was ruined. Her phone buzzed. It was Jenna. "Emma! Oh my God, I just saw the news. Are you okay?" "No," Emma sobbed. "I'm not okay." "Where are you?" "I'm coming over." An hour later, Jenna arrived with ice cream and tissues. "Tell me everything," Jenna said. So Emma did. She told her about the papers, the FBI raid, Alexander's accusation. "He actually thinks you betrayed him?" Jenna asked, furious. "He doesn't know what to think." "Then he's an idiot." "He's scared," Emma said softly. "His whole world is falling apart." "That doesn't give him the right to blame you." Emma knew Jenna was right, but her heart still ached for Alexander. She knew what it felt like to have your world destroyed. The next few days were torture. The media tore Emma apart. They called her names, made up stories, painted her as a villain. Gold digger seduces billionaire heir. From waitress to con artist, the Emma Wilson story. Did this simple girl destroy the Hunt empire? Emma stopped reading after that. It hurt too much. She didn't hear from Alexander. Not a call, not a text, nothing. And every day, the silence hurt more. Then 1 week after the FBI raid, Emma's doorbell rang. She opened it to find a man in a suit. "Emma Wilson?" "Yes." "You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and money laundering." Emma's world went black. They took her to the police station, put her in handcuffs, read her rights. It felt like a nightmare, one she couldn't wake up from. In the interrogation room, 2 FBI agents sat across from her. "Ms. Wilson, we have evidence that you've been working with James Hunt to steal money from the foundation." "What? No, that's insane!" They showed her papers, her signature on documents she'd never seen before. "Those aren't real," Emma said desperately. "I never signed those." "We have witnesses who say otherwise." "What witnesses?" "James Hunt and Victoria Kingsley." Of course, James wanted to frame someone for his crimes. And Victoria wanted revenge. Emma was the perfect target. "I want a lawyer," Emma said, but she couldn't afford a lawyer, not a good one. She sat in that cell and wondered how everything had gone so wrong. One simple act of kindness had led to this. She wondered if she regretted helping Robert that day in the rain, but even now, even sitting in jail, she didn't. Because kindness was never wrong, even when it cost you everything. 3 days later, Emma was brought to court for her arraignment. She wore an orange jumpsuit. Her hair was messy. She had dark circles under her eyes. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, curious onlookers, people who wanted to see the con artist get what she deserved. And there, in the back row, sat Alexander. Their eyes met across the room. Emma couldn't read his expression. Was he there to support her, or to watch her fall? The judge read the charges. Emma barely heard them. Her heart was too busy breaking. "How do you plead?" the judge asked. "Not guilty," Emma said firmly. As they led her away, she looked back one more time. Alexander was gone. Back in her cell, Emma cried until she had no tears left. Then she heard a voice. "Emma Wilson?" A guard stood at her cell door. "You made bail." "What? How?" "I don't have—" "Someone paid it for you. You're free to go." Emma was confused but grateful. She gathered her things and walked out. In the lobby, she expected to see Jenna. Instead, she saw Alexander. He stood there, hands in his pockets, looking tired and sad and sorry. "You bailed me out?" Emma whispered. "I should have done it 3 days ago," Alexander said. "I'm so sorry, Emma." "You believe me now?" "I always believed you," Alexander said, stepping closer. "I was just scared and angry, and I took it out on you. That was wrong." "Alexander, I know who's behind this," he interrupted. "My Uncle James. He's been stealing from the foundation for years, and he's been setting you up to take the fall." "How do you know?" "Because my father kept records. Secret records. I found them hidden in his study. Evidence of everything James has done." Hope bloomed in Emma's chest. "Does that mean—" "You're going to be okay," Alexander promised. "I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make sure James pays for what he's done." Emma wanted to believe him, but she was so tired, so broken. "Why did you leave the courtroom?" she asked quietly. Alexander looked ashamed. "Because I couldn't stand to see you up there, in handcuffs, treated like a criminal. When it's my fault you're in this mess." "It's not your fault." "Yes, it is," Alexander insisted. "You helped my father, and instead of protecting you, I doubted you. I let them arrest you. I failed you." Emma saw the pain in his eyes, the regret. She stepped forward and took his hand. "Then don't fail me again," she said softly. Alexander pulled her into his arms and held her tight. "I won't. I promise. I won't." They stood there in the police station lobby, holding each other like they'd never let go. But outside, a car sat waiting in the shadows. Inside that car, James Hunt watched Emma and Alexander through binoculars. His face twisted with rage. "If I'm going down," he muttered, I'm taking them both with me. He pulled out his phone and made a call. It's time, he said to whoever answered. Execute the plan. James hung up and smiled a cold, dangerous smile. He started the car and drove away into the night, leaving Emma and Alexander unaware of the storm that was coming. Because the worst was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. James Hunt's car screeched to a stop. Inside the trunk was something that would destroy Emma forever. He smiled as he popped it open and stared at the evidence he'd planted. Documents, fake bank accounts, all in Emma's name. By tomorrow morning, she wouldn't just be accused of stealing millions. She'd look guilty beyond any doubt, and there was nothing Alexander could do to save her. But let's go back to what happened right after Emma and Alexander left the police station together. Alexander took Emma back to his penthouse. She'd never been there before. It was on the top floor of the tallest building in Chicago. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the entire city glowing beneath them. You should rest, Alexander said gently. You've been through hell. Emma nodded. She was exhausted. Her body ached. Her mind felt foggy. Alexander showed her to the guest room. It was bigger than her entire apartment. The bed looked like a cloud. Thank you, Emma whispered, for believing me. I never should have doubted you, Alexander said. He kissed her forehead softly. Get some sleep. We'll figure everything out tomorrow. But Emma couldn't sleep. Her mind kept racing. James Hunt was still out there. Victoria was still spreading lies. And even though Alexander believed her now, the whole world thought she was a criminal. Around midnight, Emma got up. She wandered through the penthouse and found Alexander in his study. Papers covered his desk. He was reading through documents with a highlighter. Can't sleep either? Emma asked from the doorway. Alexander looked up. His eyes were bloodshot. Too much to do. I'm going through everything my father left behind. Every transaction, every payment, building a case against James. Emma walked over and looked at the papers. Numbers swam before her eyes. Dates, bank accounts, company names. This is overwhelming, she said. I know. But somewhere in here is proof that James is guilty. Not you. Emma picked up one of the documents. It was a transfer of $2 million to something called Meridian Holdings. What's Meridian Holdings? She asked. Alexander frowned. I don't know. I've never heard of it. Look, Emma said, pointing. There are 5 transfers to this company, all in the last year. That's $10 million. Alexander grabbed his laptop and started typing. Let me search for it. They waited while the computer loaded. Emma held her breath. Nothing, Alexander said. No company by that name exists. Not legally. Anyway. So it's a shell company, Emma said. James must have created it to hide the stolen money. Alexander's eyes lit up. You're right. Emma, you're brilliant. He kissed her quickly and went back to the papers with new energy. If we can trace where the money went after it reached Meridian Holdings, we can prove James took it. They worked together for hours. Emma's mind felt clearer now. She had a purpose, something to focus on besides her fear. By morning, they'd found 3 more shell companies, all receiving money from the foundation, all untraceable, all connected somehow to James Hunt. We need to take this to the FBI, Alexander said. Will they even listen? Emma asked. They think I'm guilty. They'll listen to me. I'm still the CEO of Hunt Industries, and this evidence is solid. Emma wanted to believe him. But she was scared, so scared. That afternoon, they went to the FBI field office. Agent Rodriguez, the woman leading the investigation, met them in a conference room. Mr. Hunt, Ms. Wilson, she said coolly, what can I do for you? Alexander spread the documents on the table. We have evidence that my uncle, James Hunt, is the one who's been stealing from the foundation. Not Emma. Agent Rodriguez picked up the papers and studied them. Her face remained neutral. Emma couldn't tell what she was thinking. "These are interesting," Agent Rodriguez said slowly. "But they don't prove Miss Wilson's innocence." "What?" Emma gasped. "These documents show that money was stolen, but Miss Wilson's signature is on many of the authorization forms. How do you explain that?" "Those signatures are forged," Alexander said firmly. "Can you prove that?" Alexander hesitated. "Not yet. But then I'm afraid we have a problem," Agent Rodriguez interrupted. "Miss Wilson, you're still our primary suspect." "This is ridiculous," Alexander shouted. "Can't you see she's being framed?" "I see a lot of things, Mr. Hunt, but right now, the evidence points to Ms. Wilson. Unless you can prove those signatures are fake, my hands are tied." Emma felt her hope crumbling. Even with Alexander's help, she was still going to prison. They left the FBI office in silence. Emma's hands shook as she got into Alexander's car. "We'll find proof," Alexander said. "We'll get a handwriting expert. We'll show those signatures are forgeries." "And if we can't?" Emma asked quietly. Alexander grabbed her hand. "Then I'll spend every penny I have fighting for you. I won't let you go to prison for something you didn't do." Emma squeezed his hand back. She wanted to believe him, but a dark voice in her head whispered that maybe this was too big. Maybe Alexander couldn't fix this. When they got back to the penthouse, Alexander's phone rang. "It's my lawyer," he said, answering. "Yes? What? When?" His face went pale. "Okay, I'll be right there." He hung up and turned to Emma. "The board called an emergency meeting. They want to remove me as CEO." "What? Why?" "Because of the scandal. They think I'm too involved, that I can't be objective because of us." Emma's stomach sank. "This is my fault." "No," Alexander said fiercely. "This is James's fault. He's trying to take everything from me, the company, you, everything." "You should go," Emma said. "Fight for your company. I don't want to leave you alone. I'll be fine. Go." Alexander kissed her hard and fast. "I'll be back as soon as I can. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't answer any calls from numbers you don't recognize. Promise me." "I promise." After Alexander left, Emma stood alone in the massive penthouse. She'd never felt so small. She tried to distract herself by watching TV, but every channel was talking about her, about the scandal, about how the simple girl had destroyed the Hunt empire. Emma turned it off. She walked to the window and stared out at the city. Somewhere down there, James Hunt was probably celebrating. He was winning. Then Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "If you want the truth about Robert Hunt, meet me at the corner of 5th and Main in 1 hour. Come alone. Tell no one." Emma stared at the message. This could be a trap. She'd promised Alexander she wouldn't go anywhere. But what if this person had information that could help? Information that could prove her innocence? She looked at the clock. Alexander would be in his meeting for hours. Emma made a decision. She grabbed her coat and left. The corner of 5th and Main was in a bad part of town, Emma's old neighborhood. She knew these streets well. She waited under a broken streetlight, her heart pounding. A car pulled up. The window rolled down. It was a woman Emma had never seen before. She looked terrified. "Emma Wilson?" the woman asked. "Yes, who are you?" "My name is Patricia. I was Robert Hunt's nurse, before he died." Emma's eyes widened. "What do you want?" "To tell you the truth. About Robert. About what he did." "Get in the car." Emma hesitated. Every instinct screamed this was dangerous. But she got in anyway. Patricia drove them to a parking garage. They went to the top level where no one else was around. "Why all the secrecy?" Emma asked. "Because if James Hunt finds out I'm talking to you, I'm dead," Patricia said bluntly. "He's already threatened me twice." "Why would he threaten you?" Patricia took a deep breath. "Because I know the truth about Robert's death. He didn't die from illness." Emma felt cold. What are you saying? Robert was murdered, poisoned slowly over several months. I suspected it at the time, but I couldn't prove it. And I was scared. Who killed him? Patricia looked Emma straight in the eye. James Hunt, his own brother. Emma's mind reeled. Why would he do that? For the company, for the money. Robert was going to change his will. He was going to leave everything to Alexander and cut James out completely. James found out, so he killed Robert before he could sign the new will. Oh my God, Emma whispered. There's more, Patricia said. The foundation? Robert started it because he was trying to make amends for his past. He did launder money when he was younger, but he stopped 20 years ago. He spent the rest of his life trying to do good, to help people. Tears filled Emma's eyes. So Robert had been a good man after all, flawed, but good. James has been stealing from the foundation for years, Patricia continued. Robert found out about it right before he died. That's why James had to kill him. Robert was going to expose everything. Do you have proof? Emma asked desperately. Patricia pulled out a flash drive. Medical records, emails, bank statements, everything you need to prove James is guilty. She handed it to Emma. I'm leaving the country tonight. I can't testify. I'm too scared. But this evidence should be enough. Why are you helping me? Emma asked. Patricia smiled sadly. Because Robert talked about you. In his last days. He said you reminded him of why he started the foundation. He said you were special. Pure-hearted. I couldn't let James destroy you. Before Emma could respond, Patricia's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went white. We have to go. Now. What's wrong? Someone's tracking my phone. They know we're here. They ran for Patricia's car. But before they could reach it, 3 black SUVs screeched into the parking garage. Men in suits jumped out. They didn't look like police. They looked like hired thugs. Run! Patricia screamed. Emma ran. She heard footsteps behind her, shouting. She clutched the flash drive in her hand like her life depended on it, because it did. She made it to the stairwell and flew down the stairs. Her lungs burned. Her legs ached. But she didn't stop. Behind her, she heard a scream. Patricia's scream. Emma wanted to go back, to help, but she couldn't. She had to protect the evidence. She burst out of the parking garage onto the street. Cars honked as she ran across traffic. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she had to get away. Finally, her legs gave out. She collapsed in an alley, gasping for air. Her phone rang. Alexander. Emma! Where are you? I told you to stay at the penthouse. I'm sorry, Emma sobbed. I'm so sorry. Someone contacted me. They had evidence. But it was a trap, and now... Where are you? Alexander demanded. Tell me where you are right now. Emma looked around. I don't know. Somewhere downtown. There's a Chinese restaurant and a pawn shop. Stay there. I'm coming. Don't move. Emma huddled in that alley, clutching the flash drive. She heard sirens in the distance. Police? Or James's men? She didn't know who to trust anymore. 20 minutes later, Alexander's car screeched to a stop. He jumped out and ran to her. Emma, are you hurt? I'm okay, but Patricia, the woman who gave me this, I think they caught her. Who's Patricia? Emma explained everything. About Robert's murder, about James, about the evidence. Alexander's face hardened. We're taking this to the FBI right now. What if they don't believe us? They will. They have to. But when they got to the FBI office, Agent Rodriguez had news that made their blood run cold. Patricia Meadows was found dead an hour ago, she said grimly. Apparent suicide. That's not possible, Emma said. She was fine when I saw her. She was scared, but she wasn't suicidal. The evidence suggests otherwise, Agent Rodriguez said. She left a note confessing to helping you steal money from the foundation. What? No. She gave me evidence proving James is guilty. Emma held out the flash drive. It's all here. Medical records showing Robert was poisoned. Bank statements showing James stole millions. Agent Rodriguez took the drive and plugged it into her computer. They all watched the screen, but nothing appeared. "It's empty," Agent Rodriguez said. "That's impossible," Emma said. "I saw her load files onto it." "Perhaps you're confused," Agent Rodriguez said. Her tone suggested she thought Emma was lying. "I'm not confused. James must have wiped it somehow." "Ms. Wilson, I think you need to face reality. The evidence is stacking up against you, and now a woman who was helping you is dead." "She killed herself because someone murdered her," Emma shouted. "That's enough," Agent Rodriguez said. "Ms. Wilson, I'm going to have to ask you to surrender yourself for arrest." "No," Alexander said, stepping between them. "You're not arresting her." "Mr. Hunt, I don't want to arrest you too." "Then don't. But Emma is innocent, and I'm not letting you railroad her." Alexander grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her toward the door. Agent Rodriguez shouted for security, but they were already running. They made it to Alexander's car and sped away before anyone could stop them. "What did we just do?" Emma asked, her voice shaking. "Bought ourselves time," Alexander said. "Time to prove the truth. But now I'm a fugitive. I know. I'm sorry. But if they arrested you now, James would make sure you never saw daylight again." Emma knew he was right. But she also knew they'd just made everything worse. Alexander drove them to a hotel on the outskirts of the city. He paid cash for the room. They couldn't use credit cards. Those could be traced. In the hotel room, Emma finally broke down. "This is insane," she cried. "A month ago I was a waitress. Now I'm running from the FBI. How did this happen?" Alexander held her. "Because you're a good person, and good people always pay the price in stories like this." "I don't want to be in this story," Emma sobbed. "I just want my normal life back." "I know, and I'm going to give that to you." "I promise." But Emma wasn't sure anyone could fix this. Not even Alexander. They spent the night planning their next move. They needed new evidence. Something James couldn't destroy or deny. "Patricia said Robert found out about the stealing right before he died," Emma said. "Maybe he documented it somewhere." "I've been through all his files," Alexander said. "There's nothing." "What about his personal things? Not business files. Personal items." Alexander thought for a moment. "His house. We didn't search his house." "Why not?" "Because James has been living there since my father died. He said he needed to stay close to the memories." "More like stay close to any evidence," Emma said. "We need to search that house." "Breaking into my father's house while James is there? That's insane. So is everything else we've done today." Alexander looked at Emma for a long moment. Then he smiled. "You're right. Let's do it." They spent the next day watching the house from a distance. James left every morning at 9 o'clock. He usually didn't return until evening. The next morning, they made their move. Alexander had keys to the house. They let themselves in quietly. The house was massive. Rooms upon rooms filled with expensive furniture and art. "Where do we even start?" Emma whispered. "My father's study. If he hid anything, it would be there." They crept through the house like thieves. It felt wrong being there, like they were violating sacred ground. The study was exactly as Robert had left it. His reading glasses still sat on the desk. His favorite book lay open to a marked page. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. She'd liked Robert. Despite everything, he'd been kind to her. They searched everywhere. Drawers, bookshelves, behind paintings, under the desk. Nothing. "Maybe we're wrong," Alexander said, frustrated. "Maybe there is no evidence." Emma sat in Robert's chair, exhausted. Her hand brushed against something under the desk. A button. She pressed it. A section of the bookshelf swung open, revealing a hidden safe. "Alexander?" Emma breathed. "Look." They stared at the safe. It had a combination lock. "Do you know the code?" Emma asked. No, my father never told me about this safe. Emma thought hard. Try your birthday. Alexander entered the numbers. Nothing. Try Robert's birthday. Nothing. Try the date I helped him. The day we met. Alexander looked at her in surprise. Then he entered the date. The safe clicked open. Inside were 3 things: a journal, a flash drive, and a gun. Why did he have a gun? Emma wondered. Protection, Alexander said grimly. He must have known James was dangerous. He grabbed the journal and started reading. His face went pale. What? Emma asked. What does it say? Everything, Alexander whispered. He documented everything, every time he confronted James about the stealing, every threat James made. He knew James was going to kill him. Why didn't he go to the police? He did. Look. Alexander showed her a page. He met with the FBI 2 days before he died, but he died before he could give them evidence. The flash drive, Emma said, grabbing it. That must be the evidence. They heard a noise downstairs. Someone was in the house. Alexander and Emma froze. They heard footsteps, coming closer. Hide, Alexander mouthed. They quickly closed the safe and hid behind the large leather couch. The study door opened. James Hunt walked in. He wasn't alone. 2 men followed him, big men with guns. Search everywhere, James said. If they found my brother's safe, we're finished. Emma's heart pounded so loud, she was sure they'd hear it. The men tore apart the study, throwing books, dumping drawers, getting closer and closer to the couch. Emma grabbed Alexander's hand. They were trapped. One of the men walked around the couch. He looked down. His eyes met Emma's. He opened his mouth to shout. But before he could, the window exploded inward. FBI agents swarmed into the house from every direction. FBI! Everyone on the ground! Chaos erupted. James tried to run, but agents tackled him. His hired men surrendered immediately. Agent Rodriguez walked into the study. She looked at Emma and Alexander behind the couch. You 2 can come out now, she said. Emma and Alexander stood up slowly, confused. What's happening? Alexander asked. Agent Rodriguez smiled. It was the first time Emma had seen her smile. We've been watching James for weeks. When you 2 ran yesterday, I knew you'd lead us to evidence we couldn't get ourselves. You used us as bait? Emma said. I'm sorry for that, but it worked. We have James Hunt on multiple charges now: murder, fraud, conspiracy. He's going to prison for the rest of his life. Emma felt dizzy with relief. So I'm not under arrest. No, Ms. Wilson, you're free. We always knew the signatures were forged. We were just building our case. You could have told us, Alexander shouted, and risk you tipping off James? No. I'm sorry, but this was the only way. Emma didn't know whether to be angry or grateful. She settled for exhausted. They watched as agents led James out in handcuffs. He glared at Emma with pure hatred. This isn't over, he snarled. I'll destroy you. You already tried, Emma said quietly. And you failed. Outside, reporters had gathered. News crews, cameras everywhere. Agent Rodriguez addressed them briefly. James Hunt has been arrested for the murder of Robert Hunt and for fraud involving the Hunt Foundation. Emma Wilson is innocent of all charges. This investigation is ongoing. The reporters shouted questions, but Agent Rodriguez walked away. Emma and Alexander stood on the steps of Robert's house holding hands. Is it really over? Emma asked. Not quite, Alexander said. We still have to rebuild the foundation, the company, our lives. That sounds hard. It will be, but we'll do it together. Emma leaned against him. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. But that feeling didn't last long. Because that night, back at Alexander's penthouse, something terrible happened. They were celebrating with takeout and champagne when Alexander's phone rang. It's the hospital, he said, frowning. He answered. Hello? What? I'll be right there. He hung up, his face ashen. What's wrong? Emma asked. It's Jenna. Your friend Jenna. She's been in an accident. Emma's blood turned to ice. What kind of accident? Hit and run. She's in critical condition. They rushed to the hospital. Emma's mind raced. Jenna, her best friend, the only person who'd stood by her through everything. At the hospital, a doctor met them. "Are you family?" he asked. "I'm her best friend," Emma said. "Please, is she okay?" The doctor's expression was grave. "She's alive, but she's in a coma. The injuries are severe." Emma's legs gave out. Alexander caught her. "Can I see her?" Emma whispered. "Of course, but only for a few minutes." They led Emma to Jenna's room. Emma gasped when she saw her friend. Jenna lay motionless in the bed. Machines beeped around her. Tubes ran from her arms. Her face was bruised and swollen. "Oh, Jenna," Emma sobbed, taking her hand. "I'm so sorry. This is my fault." "How is this your fault?" Alexander asked gently. "Because I brought all this chaos into her life. First the scandal, now this. What if it wasn't an accident?" Alexander's face hardened. "You think James? He said this wasn't over. What if he arranged this from jail?" "That's impossible. He's being held without bail." But Emma wasn't so sure. Men with James's power and money had long reaches, even from behind bars. A nurse came in. "I'm sorry, but you need to leave now. She needs rest." Emma kissed Jenna's forehead. "I'll be back tomorrow. Please wake up. Please." In the hallway, a police officer approached them. "Ms. Wilson? I'm Detective Barnes. I'm investigating your friend's accident." "It wasn't an accident," Emma said fiercely. "Someone did this to hurt me." "What makes you say that?" "Because witnesses saw the car deliberately swerve to hit her, and because there was a note left at the scene." He handed Emma a plastic evidence bag. Inside was a piece of paper with words cut from magazines, like a ransom note. "You took everything from me. Now I'll take everything from you. Starting with everyone you love." Emma's hands shook as she read it. "This is from James," she said. "We're looking into that possibility," Detective Barnes said. "In the meantime, I'd recommend you both be very careful. If someone is targeting Ms. Wilson's loved ones, you could be next, Mr. Hunt." They went back to the penthouse under police escort. Alexander hired private security to guard the building. "We're prisoners," Emma said, staring out the window at the city. "We're safe," Alexander corrected. "There's a difference." But Emma didn't feel safe. She felt hunted. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow looked threatening. Around 3 in the morning, she got up and went to the kitchen for water. That's when she saw it. An envelope had been slipped under the door. Emma's heart raced. How had someone gotten past security? She picked up the envelope with shaking hands and opened it. Inside was a single photograph. It was Alexander's mother. She'd died when he was young. But in this photo, someone had drawn a red X over her face and written below, "She's next." Emma screamed. Alexander came running. When he saw the photo, his face went from concerned to furious. "That's it," he said. "We're ending this. Now." "How?" Emma asked. "James is in jail. How is he still doing this?" "He has people on the outside, people loyal to him." "So what do we do?" Alexander pulled out his phone. "We take the fight to them." He made a call. "Victoria, it's Alexander. I need your help." Emma's eyes widened. Victoria? The woman who hated her? "I know we're not friends," Alexander said into the phone. "But James Hunt is threatening people I love, and I think you know who he's working with." "No?" "Think harder, Victoria. Your father was James's business partner. He must know something." There was a long pause. "Thank you," Alexander finally said. He hung up and looked at Emma. "Victoria's father knows the name of James's main enforcer, the person carrying out these threats." "Who is it?" "A man named Victor Reeves. He's been doing James's dirty work for years. How do we find him? We already know where he'll be, Alexander said grimly. At the hospital, waiting to finish what he started with Jenna. Emma's blood ran cold. We have to warn them. Already done. I called Detective Barnes while you were staring at the photo. Police are on their way. But Emma had a bad feeling, a feeling that they were already too late. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It was a video. With trembling hands, Emma pressed play. The video showed Jenna's hospital room. A man in scrubs stood over her bed. He held a syringe. "No!" Emma screamed. In the video, the man turned to the camera and smiled. Then he injected something into Jenna's IV. The video ended. Emma and Alexander raced to the car. They broke every speed limit getting to the hospital. Police were already there. Chaos filled the hallways. Emma ran to Jenna's room. Doctors surrounded the bed. Machines screamed alarms. "What happened?" Emma cried. A doctor turned to her, his face grim. "Someone injected a lethal dose of morphine into her IV. We're trying to reverse it, but..." "But what?" "I'm sorry. She's not responding. There's nothing more we can do." "No," Emma whispered. "No, no, no." She pushed past the doctors to Jenna's side. Her friend's face was peaceful. Too peaceful. "Jenna, please," Emma begged. "Please don't leave me. You're all I have. Please." But Jenna didn't move, didn't breathe. The machines flatlined. A long, steady beep filled the room. "Time of death, 3:47 a.m., a doctor said quietly. Emma collapsed. Her best friend, her only friend, gone. Alexander held her as she sobbed, great, heaving sobs that came from deep in her soul. Jenna was dead, because of her, because she'd helped a stranger in the rain one morning. Was kindness worth this price? Detective Barnes approached them in the waiting room an hour later. "We caught the man who did this," he said. "Victor Reeves, he's in custody." "Good," Alexander said coldly. "I hope he rots." "He's talking, giving up names." Apparently, James Hunt has an entire network of people on his payroll, people willing to do anything for money. "How many people?" Emma asked, her voice hollow. "At least a dozen, maybe more. We're rounding them up now." But Emma barely heard him. Jenna was dead. Nothing else mattered. The next few days were a blur. Emma existed but didn't really live. She went through the motions. Ate when Alexander told her to, slept when exhaustion finally took her. Jenna's funeral was small. Just Emma, Alexander, and a few of Jenna's cousins she barely knew. Emma stood at the grave as they lowered the casket into the ground. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Jenna." After the funeral, Emma made a decision. "I'm leaving," she told Alexander. "What? Where?" "Away from Chicago, away from you, away from all of this." Alexander grabbed her hands. "Emma, no, please don't do this." "Everyone around me gets hurt, Alexander. Your father, Jenna, who's next? You?" "I can protect myself." "Can you?" "Because James is still alive, still capable of hurting people, and even if he stays in prison forever, there are others like him. People who'll see me as a target, as a weakness to exploit." "So you're just going to run?" "I'm going to survive," Emma said firmly, "and I'm going to make sure the people I care about survive too. Which means staying away from them." "That's not fair." "Life isn't fair, Alexander. I learned that a long time ago." She pulled her hands free and walked toward the taxi she'd called. "Emma!" Alexander shouted. "Don't do this! I love you!" Emma stopped. Tears streamed down her face. "I love you too," she said without turning around. "That's why I have to go." She got in the taxi and didn't look back. As the car drove away, Emma felt her heart breaking. But she also felt relief. Alexander would be safe now. That's what mattered. The taxi took her to the airport. Emma had bought a ticket to a small town in Montana, middle of nowhere, a place where no one knew her name. She'd start over, again. At the gate, Emma sat and waited for her flight. She turned off her phone so Alexander couldn't track her. An hour passed, then another. Finally, they called for boarding. Emma stood up, grabbed her small bag, and headed for the jetway. "Emma Wilson?" She froze. Slowly, she turned around. Two men in suits stood there. They had badges. "Ms. Wilson, I'm Agent Chen. This is Agent Brooks. We need you to come with us." Emma's stomach dropped. "Why?" "What did I do?" "You're not under arrest," Agent Chen said quickly. "But we have new information about James Hunt, about his plans. You're in danger." "I'm leaving the city. I'll be fine." "No, you won't," Agent Brooks said seriously. "James put out a hit on you. $500,000 to anyone who kills you." Emma felt the blood drain from her face. "What?" "We intercepted communications from inside the prison. He's desperate, and desperate men do desperate things. So what am I supposed to do? Hide forever?" "We have a proposition," Agent Chen said. "Witness protection, new identity, new life. Somewhere James Hunt and his people will never find you." Emma stared at them. Witness protection meant disappearing completely. No contact with anyone from her old life, not even Alexander. "And if I say no? Then you'll be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life, however long that is." Emma thought about Jenna, about Robert, about all the people who'd died because of James Hunt's greed. She couldn't let him win, but she also couldn't spend her life running. "I need to talk to someone first," Emma said. "Who?" "Alexander Hunt. I need to say goodbye." The agents exchanged glances. "1 hour," Agent Chen said. "Then we need an answer." They took Emma back to Alexander's penthouse. He opened the door, surprised to see her. "Emma, I thought you left." "I tried," she said. "Can I come in?" He stepped aside. Emma walked into the penthouse that had briefly been her home. "The FBI wants to put me in witness protection," she said without preamble. Alexander's face went pale. "No." "Alexander." "No," he repeated firmly. "I won't lose you. Not like this. James put a hit out on me. $500,000. I'm not safe here." "Then we'll hire more security. We'll move somewhere else. We'll spend our whole lives afraid," Emma interrupted. "Is that what you want?" "I want you alive," Alexander said desperately. "I want you with me." "So do I," Emma whispered. "But wanting isn't enough." She walked to him and took his hands. "I need you to let me go," she said softly. "I need you to understand that this is the only way I'll ever be truly safe." Tears filled Alexander's eyes. "How long?" "What?" "How long will you be gone? Witness protection isn't forever, right? Eventually when James dies or the threat ends." Emma's heart broke. "Alexander, witness protection means I disappear. Completely. New name, new identity. I can never contact anyone from my old life, ever. That's not acceptable. It's the only option." "No," Alexander said stubbornly. "There has to be another way." "There isn't." They stood there in silence. The city glittered outside the windows. So beautiful. So cruel. "I can't do this," Alexander finally said. "I can't say goodbye to you forever." "You have to." "Emma." She kissed him, long and deep and desperate, trying to memorize the feel of his lips, the taste of him, the way his arms held her tight. When they pulled apart, they were both crying. "I love you," Emma said. "I will always love you. Then stay, please." "I love you too much to stay." Before Alexander could argue further, Emma's phone buzzed. The agents. Time was up. "I have to go," she said. "Emma, wait." But she was already walking toward the door. If she stayed another second, she'd never have the strength to leave. "Goodbye, Alexander." She closed the door behind her and ran down the hallway. Behind her, she heard Alexander shouting her name. heard him pounding on the door he'd locked to keep himself from chasing her. In the elevator, Emma's phone rang. It was Alexander calling. She turned off her phone. The agents were waiting in a black SUV. "You made your decision?" Agent Chen asked. Emma nodded, unable to speak through her tears. "Then let's go." The SUV pulled away from the building. Emma watched through the rear window as Alexander burst out of the doors, looking frantically around. Their eyes met across the distance. Then the SUV turned a corner, and he was gone. Emma Wilson disappeared that night. The FBI gave her a new name, new papers, new life. She became Rachel Morrison, elementary school teacher in a small town in Oregon. No one there knew about billionaires or foundations or murders. They just knew Rachel as the quiet woman who loved books and helped kids learn to read. Emma tried to build a new life, but every night she dreamed of Alexander, wondered if he was okay, if he'd moved on, if he still thought about her. 3 years passed. Rachel, was walking home from school one afternoon when a black SUV pulled up beside her. Her heart stopped. Had James's people found her? The window rolled down. Agent Chen sat in the driver's seat. "Hello, Miss Wilson," he said. "It's Morrison now," Emma said quietly. "Actually, it can be Wilson again, if you want." Emma's pulse raced. "What do you mean?" "James Hunt died yesterday. Heart attack in prison. His network has been completely dismantled. There are no more threats against you." Emma couldn't breathe. "So I'm free?" "You're free." She should have felt relieved, happy, but all she felt was numb. "Can I go back? To Chicago? To my old life?" Agent Chen's expression was gentle. "You can go anywhere you want. But Ms. Wilson, 3 years is a long time. People move on. Things change." "Is he okay?" Emma asked. She didn't need to say who. "Alexander Hunt married 8 months ago," Agent Chen said softly. The words hit Emma like a physical blow. Married. Of course he had. She'd told him to move on, to forget her. And he had. "Who?" Emma whispered. "I don't know the details." "I'm sorry." Emma nodded numbly. "Thank you for telling me." Agent Chen handed her an envelope. "Your original documents, your old bank account information. Everything you need to reclaim your identity." Emma took the envelope with shaking hands. "What will you do?" Agent Chen asked. Emma thought about Chicago, about the penthouse with the city views, about the foundation and the work she'd loved, about Alexander who'd moved on, who'd married someone else, who'd built a life without her. "I don't know," Emma said honestly. "But I think Rachel Morrison has a good life here. Maybe I'll keep it." Agent Chen nodded. "Either way, you're safe now. That's what matters." He drove away, leaving Emma standing on the sidewalk. She looked down at the envelope in her hands. Inside was her old life, her old identity, everything she'd given up. But was it really hers anymore? That night, Emma sat in her small apartment and opened the envelope. Her old driver's license stared back at her. Emma Wilson. That girl seemed like a stranger now. She pulled out her phone. She'd gotten a new number as Rachel Morrison, but she still remembered Alexander's number, had never forgotten it. Her finger hovered over the keypad. Should she call him, just to hear his voice, to know he was okay? But what would she say? "Hi, it's Emma. I know you're married now, but I just wanted to say hello." No, that was selfish. Alexander had moved on. She should too. Emma set down her phone. Then it rang. Unknown number. Emma's heart pounded as she answered. "Hello? Emma?" She knew that voice, would know it anywhere. "Alexander? Oh, thank God," he breathed. "I've been searching for you for 3 years. The FBI wouldn't tell me anything. I hired private investigators. I spent millions trying to find you. And then today, they told me you were free. They gave me this number. Emma's head spun. How did you? I never stopped looking, Alexander interrupted. Emma, I need to see you. Please, where are you? Alexander, I heard you got married. Silence. Is that what they told you? Alexander finally said. Yes. Emma, I'm not married. I could never marry anyone else. You're the only one I want. But Agent Chen said, Agent Chen is wrong. Or lying. I don't know which. But Emma, I swear to you, I'm not married. I'm not even dating anyone. I've been waiting for you. Tears streamed down Emma's face. Really? Really, now please tell me where you are. Emma gave him the address. I'll be there in 4 hours, Alexander said. Don't move. Don't disappear again. Promise me. I promise. I love you, Emma. I love you too. Emma hung up and stared at her phone in disbelief. Alexander was coming. He still loved her. She looked around her small apartment, at the life she'd built as Rachel Morrison. It was a good life, simple, safe, quiet, but it wasn't complete. 4 hours later, a knock sounded on her door. Emma opened it. Alexander stood there, looking older and more tired than she remembered. But his eyes were the same, full of love and relief and hope. Hi, Emma said softly. Hi, Alexander replied. They stared at each other for a long moment, then Alexander pulled her into his arms and held her like he'd never let go. I thought I'd never see you again, he whispered into her hair. So did I. They stood there in the doorway, holding each other as the sun set behind them. Finally, they pulled apart enough to look at each other. So what happens now? Emma asked. Alexander smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen in 3 years. Now? Now we start over. Together. For real this time. But what about the foundation? The company? Your life in Chicago? What about your life here? Alexander countered. We'll figure it out, Emma. Together. That's all that matters. Emma knew he was right. They'd faced worse than this. They could handle the logistics of building a life together. But as Alexander kissed her, as the first stars appeared in the Oregon sky, Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Because somewhere, in the shadows of her new apartment building, someone watched. Someone with a camera. Someone who immediately sent the photos to a very interested party. And in a mansion in Chicago, Victoria Kingsley smiled as she looked at the images on her phone. Alexander had lied to her. He wasn't over Emma after all. And Victoria? Well, Victoria believed in revenge. She'd waited 3 years. She could wait a little longer, because this story wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. Victoria's champagne glass shattered against the marble floor. She stared at the photo on her laptop screen. Emma and Alexander, together, kissing. The private investigator she'd hired had sent it with one word. Confirmed. Victoria's hands trembled with rage. She'd spent 3 years becoming the perfect woman for Alexander. 3 years positioning herself as his future wife. 3 years waiting for him to forget that simple little waitress. And now Emma was back. But Victoria wasn't the scared girl she used to be. She'd learned from James Hunt before he died. Learned that sometimes you had to destroy people to get what you wanted. She picked up her phone and made a call. It's time, she said. Execute the plan. But let's go back to Emma and Alexander in Oregon, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing 3,000 miles away. They spent the night talking, really talking, about the 3 years apart, about the pain, about how they'd survived. Every day I wondered if you were okay, Alexander said, holding Emma's hand. If you were happy. If you even remembered me. I never stopped thinking about you, Emma replied. But I thought you'd moved on. That you'd found someone better. There is no one better. There's only you. Emma leaned against his shoulder. So what do we do now? I have a life here, a job, students who depend on me. And I have responsibilities in Chicago, Alexander said. The foundation is bigger than ever. We've helped thousands of families. I'm glad, Emma said softly. That's what your father wanted. Come back with me, Alexander said suddenly. Come back to Chicago. Help me run the foundation. We'll do it together. Emma wanted to say yes, but fear held her back. What if it's not safe? What if there are still people who want to hurt me? James is dead. His network is gone. Victor Reeves is serving life in prison. It's over, Emma. Is it, though? What about Victoria? She hated me 3 years ago. I doubt that's changed. Alexander waved his hand dismissively. Victoria is harmless. She accepted that I wasn't interested in her. She's moved on. But Alexander was wrong. So very wrong. The next morning, Emma called the school. She'd accumulated 3 weeks of vacation time. She requested it all. I need to see if I can go back, she told Alexander. See if Chicago still feels like home. They flew back that afternoon. First class. Emma had forgotten what it felt like to have money, to not worry about every dollar. When the plane landed in Chicago, Emma felt her stomach flip. This city held so many memories, good and terrible. Alexander's driver picked them up. The man's face lit up when he saw Emma. Ms. Wilson, we hoped. It's good to see you, ma'am. It's good to see you too, Thomas. They drove through the city. Emma watched familiar landmarks pass by. The diner where she used to work was still there. Mrs. Patterson probably still ran it with an iron fist. Do you want to stop anywhere? Alexander asked, noticing her looking. No, let's just go to your place. The penthouse was exactly as Emma remembered. Same massive windows, same expensive furniture, same breathtaking view. But it felt different now. Lonelier somehow. You haven't changed anything, Emma observed. I couldn't, Alexander admitted. Every piece of furniture reminded me of you. Changing it felt like erasing you completely. Emma's heart ached. 3 years. He'd waited 3 years. That evening, Alexander took her to dinner at an exclusive restaurant. Emma wore a simple dress she'd brought from Oregon. It wasn't fancy, but it was all she had. When they walked in, everyone stared. Whispers followed them to their table. Is that Emma Wilson? I thought she was dead. What is Alexander thinking bringing her back? Emma tried to ignore them, but it was hard. These people had judged her before. They clearly still did. Halfway through dinner, a woman approached their table. She was stunning. Perfect blonde hair, designer dress, confident smile. Emma's stomach sank. Victoria. Alexander, what a surprise seeing you here, Victoria said, her voice dripping sweetness. Victoria, Alexander said coolly. Emma, you remember? Of course I remember, Emma interrupted. Hello, Victoria. Victoria's eyes swept over Emma's simple dress. Her smile sharpened. Emma, my goodness, I heard you were back. How unexpected. Life is full of surprises, Emma said evenly. Indeed it is, Victoria replied. She turned to Alexander. Darling, we still need to discuss the charity gala next month. You promised you'd be my co-chair. Did I? Alexander frowned. I don't remember that. Of course you did, at the mayor's dinner. You said you'd love to work with me on it. Alexander looked uncomfortable. Victoria, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding at all, Victoria said brightly. She pulled out her phone. Look, I even have your text confirming it. She showed Alexander the screen. Emma couldn't see what it said, but Alexander's frown deepened. I don't recall sending that, he said. Well, you did, so I'll expect you at the planning meeting Friday. Ta-ta. Victoria wiggled her fingers at them and walked away. Emma watched her go. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. That was weird, Alexander said. She's lying about something, Emma said. I can tell. About what? I don't know. But Alexander, be careful around her. She's dangerous. She's annoying, not dangerous, Alexander said, laughing. Trust me, Victoria's all talk. But Emma wasn't so sure. The next few days passed quickly. Alexander took Emma to the foundation offices. They'd moved to a larger building, employed over 50 people now. Everyone was shocked to see Emma. Most were happy. A few seemed suspicious. Is she back permanently? Emma overheard one woman whisper. I don't know, but if she is, there goes our chances with Mr. Hunt. Emma pretended not to hear. Alexander showed her everything they'd accomplished. New programs, new facilities, thousands of families helped. This is amazing, Emma said, genuinely impressed. You've done so much. We've done it, Alexander corrected. This was your vision too. You helped create this. Emma felt pride swell in her chest. Despite everything, they'd made something good, something that helped people. That afternoon, Alexander had meetings. Emma decided to visit Jenna's grave. She hadn't been there since the funeral 3 years ago. Guilt had kept her away. The cemetery was quiet, peaceful. Emma found Jenna's headstone easily. Fresh flowers sat in a vase beside it. Someone's been visiting you, Emma said softly, kneeling down. I'm glad. You shouldn't be forgotten. She traced Jenna's name with her finger. Tears blurred her vision. I'm so sorry, Jenna, for everything. You died because of me, because I was stupid enough to think I could have a fairy tale. She wouldn't want you to blame yourself. Emma spun around. A man stood behind her. He was older, maybe 60, with kind eyes and graying hair. Who are you? Emma asked. Daniel. Daniel Martinez. I was Jenna's uncle. I didn't know Jenna had an uncle. We weren't close, Daniel admitted. My fault, family drama. But when she died, I realized how much I'd missed. So I started visiting her grave, bringing flowers, talking to her. Emma felt tears well up again. She would have liked that. She talked about you, Daniel said. In the months before she died, she told me you were the kindest person she'd ever met. She was wrong. If I'd been kind, I would have stayed away from her, kept her safe. Or maybe you gave her the best friendship she ever had, Daniel countered. Maybe those months with you were the happiest she'd ever been. Emma wanted to believe that, but the guilt was too heavy. I should go, she said, standing. Emma, wait. Daniel pulled out an envelope. Jenna gave this to me. 2 days before she died, she said if anything happened to her, I should give it to you. Emma's hands shook as she took the envelope. What is it? I don't know. I never opened it. But she was very specific. Only you could read it. Emma stared at the envelope. Jenna's handwriting scrawled across the front. For Emma. Open only if something happens to me. Thank you, Emma whispered. Daniel nodded and walked away, leaving Emma alone with her grief and this mysterious letter. Emma sat on a bench and opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper covered in Jenna's familiar handwriting. Emma, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead, and I'm guessing it has something to do with the mess you got involved in with Alexander Hunt. Don't you dare blame yourself. I chose to stand by you. I chose to be your friend, and I'd make the same choice again. But I need to tell you something important, something I discovered right before everything went crazy. Victoria Kingsley isn't who she pretends to be. Her real name is Victoria Hunt. She's James Hunt's daughter. He had her when he was young, before he married. He kept her a secret, raised her to be his weapon, to infiltrate high society and report back to him. Emma, she's dangerous. More dangerous than James ever was because no one suspects her. I found proof. Bank records showing James paid for her entire life. Photos of them together. I was going to show you and Alexander, but then the accident happened. I hid the evidence in your old apartment, behind the loose tile in the bathroom, third from the left, bottom row. Get it. Expose her. And Emma, live your life. Be happy. Don't let fear stop you from loving Alexander. You deserve happiness. Your best friend forever, Jenna. Emma's blood turned to ice. Victoria was James's daughter, his secret weapon, and she was still out there pretending to be someone she wasn't. Emma jumped up and ran. She had to tell Alexander, had to warn him. She called him as she hailed a taxi. "Alexander, I need you to meet me. Right now. It's an emergency." "What's wrong?" "I can't explain over the phone. Meet me at my old apartment building. 30 minutes. "Emma, you're scaring me." "Good. Be scared. Just meet me there." Emma gave the driver her old address. Her mind raced. Victoria had been playing them this whole time, getting close to Alexander, positioning herself. For what? Revenge? Money? To finish what her father started? The taxi pulled up to Emma's old building. It looked shabbier than she remembered. The neighborhood had gotten worse. Alexander's car was already there. He jumped out when he saw her. "Emma, what's going on?" "Come with me. I'll explain inside." They climbed the stairs to Emma's old apartment. The landlord had never bothered to re-rent it. Too small. Too run down. The door was unlocked. That should have been Emma's first warning. But she was too focused on finding Jenna's evidence. They went into the tiny bathroom. Emma counted the tiles. Third from the left, bottom row. She pried it up. Behind it was a small space, and inside that space was a manila envelope. "Yes," Emma breathed, grabbing it. "What is that?" Alexander asked. Emma turned to explain, but the words died in her throat. Victoria stood in the bathroom doorway. She held a gun, and she was smiling. "Looking for this?" Victoria asked sweetly. "How clever of little Jenna to hide evidence. Too bad she's not here to see you find it." "Victoria," Alexander said carefully. "Put the gun down." "I don't think so, Alexander. You see, I've worked too hard to let Emma ruin everything now." "What are you talking about?" Emma demanded, even though she already knew. "Oh, don't play dumb. You found Jenna's letter, didn't you? You know who I really am." Alexander looked between them, confused. "Someone want to fill me in?" "Victoria is James Hunt's daughter," Emma said, not taking her eyes off the gun. "His secret daughter. This has all been part of her plan." Understanding dawned on Alexander's face, then fury. "You've been lying to me for 3 years." "I've been surviving," Victoria corrected. "Do you know what it's like growing up as someone's secret? My father couldn't acknowledge me publicly, couldn't claim me. I was his dirty little secret." "So you helped him steal from the foundation?" Emma asked. "I helped him build an empire," Victoria snapped. "But then you came along, simple, kind, perfect Emma. My father became obsessed with you. Said you reminded him of his mother, said you were pure." "That's why he tested me," Emma realized. "He was looking for someone like his mother." "And he found you," Victoria said bitterly. "Suddenly I wasn't important anymore. He changed his will, left everything to Alexander and the foundation, cut me out completely. Me, his own daughter." "So you helped him hurt people?" Alexander said. "You helped him murder my father?" "I tried to stop him," Victoria shouted. "I told him not to kill Robert, but he wouldn't listen. He was paranoid, desperate. And then he got caught and left me with nothing." "You have plenty," Emma said. "You're rich, successful." "I have what I stole," Victoria screamed. "What I took while everyone was busy chasing you, Emma. I moved money, created accounts. And now I have what should have been mine all along." "Why are you telling us this?" Alexander asked. Victoria's smile turned cold. "Because you're both about to have a very tragic accident. Murder-suicide. Emma, driven mad by guilt, shoots Alexander and then herself. So sad. But I'll be there to comfort everyone, to run the foundation, to finally get what's mine." "You won't get away with this," Emma said. "I already have," Victoria replied. "The police will find your fingerprints on the gun, your DNA, evidence that you've been unstable since coming back to Chicago. It's perfect." She raised the gun, pointing it at Alexander. "Say goodbye, Emma." Emma didn't think. She just moved. She threw herself in front of Alexander just as Victoria pulled the trigger. The gunshot was deafening in the small bathroom. Emma felt fire explode in her shoulder. She fell backward into Alexander's arms. "Emma!" Alexander screamed. Victoria looked shocked, like she hadn't really expected to shoot anyone, but she recovered quickly. She aimed again. "If I have to shoot you both, so be it. The story changes, but I still win." Before she could fire, the bathroom door burst open. Police officers swarmed in. "Drop your weapon!" Victoria spun around, gun still raised. "Drop it now!" For a moment, Emma thought Victoria might shoot anyway, go out in a blaze of glory. But then Victoria's shoulders sagged. She let the gun clatter to the floor. "How?" she whispered as they cuffed her. Detective Barnes stepped into view. "Daniel Martinez, Jenna's uncle. He called us after Emma left the cemetery, said she seemed scared. We followed her here. Plus," another officer added, "we've been watching you, Miss Kingsley, or should I say, Ms. Hunt. We knew James had a daughter. We just couldn't prove it until now." They led Victoria away. She looked back at Emma one last time. "This isn't over." "Yes," Emma said through gritted teeth. "It is." Then the pain hit. Really hit. Emma gasped. "We need an ambulance," Alexander shouted. "Please, she's bleeding." Emma looked down. Blood soaked her shirt. So much blood. "Alexander," she whispered, "I'm scared." "Don't be scared. You're going to be fine. Help is coming." But Emma's vision was blurring. The bathroom ceiling seemed to spin. "Alexander, if I don't make it..." "You're going to make it." "If I don't?" Emma insisted. "Promise me you'll keep helping people, keep the foundation going, make something good out of all this pain." "I promise." "But you're going to be here to help me. You hear me, Emma? You don't get to leave me again." Emma smiled weakly. "Bossy." Then everything went black. Emma woke up in a hospital room. Bright lights, beeping machines, the smell of antiseptic. "Welcome back," a kind voice said. Emma turned her head. A nurse stood beside the bed, checking her IV. "How long?" Emma croaked. "2 days. You lost a lot of blood, but you're young and strong. You'll heal." "Alexander?" "Hasn't left your side except when we forced him to eat and shower. He's in the cafeteria now. I'll call him." 5 minutes later, Alexander burst into the room. He looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted. But his eyes lit up when he saw Emma awake. "Hey," Emma said softly. "Hey, yourself," Alexander replied, taking her hand. "You scared me." "Sorry. Habit." "Don't joke. I thought I'd lost you. Again. Can't get rid of me that easily." Alexander kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "Never again. You hear me? No more running, no more leaving. We face everything together from now on." "Together?" Emma agreed. "Victoria's in jail," Alexander said. "They found evidence of everything. The money she stole, her connection to James, even proof she was the one who hired Victor Reeves to kill Jenna." "She killed Jenna?" Emma whispered. "She gave the order. She'll spend the rest of her life in prison." Emma felt tears slip down her cheeks. Justice for Jenna. Finally. "It's really over now?" she asked. "It's really over." Emma closed her eyes. After 3 years of running, of hiding, of fear, she was finally free. But when she opened her eyes again, Alexander was staring at her with an intensity that made her heart race. "Marry me," he said. "What?" "Marry me, Emma, right now, today, as soon as you can walk." "Alexander, I just got shot. Maybe we should wait." "I've waited 3 years. I'm not waiting another day. I love you. I want to spend my life with you, so marry me." Emma looked into his eyes. She saw love, determination, hope. "Okay," she said. "Okay? Yes. Okay. I'll marry you." Alexander's face broke into the biggest smile Emma had ever seen. He kissed her so hard the heart monitor started beeping faster. The nurse came running in. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's perfect," Alexander said, not taking his eyes off Emma. "Absolutely perfect." Emma laughed. For the first time in 3 years, she felt light, happy, free. The nightmare was finally over. The real fairy tale was just beginning, or so they thought. Because 3,000 miles away in a maximum security prison, Victoria Hunt sat in her cell and smiled. She'd made one phone call before they arrested her. One final instruction to someone she trusted. Someone who owed her a favor. Someone who was, at this very moment, on a plane to Chicago. Someone who would finish what Victoria started. The game wasn't over. It was just entering the final round. And this time, Emma Wilson wouldn't survive. The package arrived at Alexander's penthouse 3 days after Emma got out of the hospital. Inside was a single photograph. Emma and Alexander at the hospital. Someone had drawn red circles around their heads. Written below in blood-red ink, "Dead by midnight." Alexander's hands shook as he showed Emma. They'd let their guard down, thought the danger was over. But Victoria had one final card to play, and whoever she'd sent was already in Chicago, already watching, already planning. Emma looked at the clock. It was 11:47 p.m. They had 13 minutes to live. But let me take you back to earlier that day, when Emma and Alexander still believed they were safe. Emma had been home from the hospital for 2 days. Her shoulder was healing, but it still hurt to move. Alexander had hired a full security team, guards at every entrance. Cameras everywhere. No one could get close to them, or so they thought. That morning, Emma woke up to find Alexander making breakfast, badly. "Are those pancakes or hockey pucks?" she teased. "I'm trying," Alexander said, laughing. "Cut me some slack. I've had chefs my whole life." Emma walked over and kissed him. "They're perfect because you made them." They ate the terrible pancakes together and talked about the future, about the wedding they were planning, about running the foundation together, about building a life. "I want kids someday," Alexander said suddenly. Emma looked up, surprised. "Yeah? Yeah, 2 or 3. I want them to grow up knowing they're loved, knowing they can be whoever they want to be." "Not billionaire heirs forced into the family business?" Emma asked, gently. "Exactly. I want them to be free." Emma touched his face. "You're going to be an amazing father, and you'll be an incredible mother." They smiled at each other, dreaming of a future that seemed so close now, so possible. Then the doorbell rang. Alexander frowned. "We're not expecting anyone." He checked the security camera. A delivery man stood there holding a package. "Delivery for Mr. Hunt?" The guard's voice came through the intercom. "I didn't order anything," Alexander said. "It's from Tiffany's, sir. Looks like jewelry." Alexander's face cleared. "Oh, I did order something. For Emma. Let him up." Emma's heart fluttered. "You didn't have to get me anything." "I wanted to. You deserve beautiful things." The guard brought the package up. Small blue box, classic Tiffany wrapping. Alexander signed for it, and the guard left. "Open it," Alexander said, handing it to Emma. Emma carefully unwrapped the box. Inside was another box, and inside that, the photograph. Emma gasped. Alexander grabbed it, his face going pale. "This isn't from Tiffany," he said. "This is a threat." Emma looked at the clock. 11:47 p.m. "Wait, no, that was wrong. It was morning." She looked again. 9:47 a.m. "The message says midnight," Emma said, her voice shaking. "But which midnight? Tonight? Tomorrow?" "We're not waiting to find out," Alexander said, pulling out his phone. "I'm calling the police." But before he could dial, all the lights went out. The backup generator should have kicked in immediately. It didn't. They stood in darkness, silent, listening. "Alexander," Emma whispered, "I'm here." Don't move. They heard footsteps, multiple people, moving through the penthouse. The guards, Emma breathed. Where are the guards? Alexander's phone lit up his face as he tried to call. No signal. Someone's jamming it. The footsteps were getting closer. Alexander grabbed Emma's hand. The panic room, now! They ran through the dark penthouse. Emma's shoulder screamed in pain, but she ignored it. Behind them, she heard voices, cold, professional, hunting. They reached Alexander's office. He pressed a hidden button, and part of the wall slid open, revealing a small steel room. They dove inside. The door sealed shut with a heavy clunk. We're safe, Alexander said, breathing hard. This room is impenetrable. Steel walls, separate power source, satellite phone. He flipped a switch. Lights came on. Emma looked around. The room was small but well stocked. Food, water, medical supplies, weapons. Alexander grabbed the satellite phone and dialed 911. This is Alexander Hunt. Someone has broken into my penthouse. Send help immediately. He gave them the address and hung up. Police are coming, he said. We just have to wait. They sat on the floor, backs against the wall. Emma's whole body was shaking. How did this happen? She asked. You have the best security in Chicago. Money, Alexander said bitterly. Victoria must have paid them off, or threatened their families. People will do anything if you push the right buttons. Outside the panic room, they heard voices. They're in the safe room. Can we get in? Not without explosives, and that would take too long. Police are probably on their way. Then we wait. They have to come out eventually. Emma and Alexander looked at each other. They were trapped. But at least they were alive. 20 minutes passed. Then they heard sirens. Police! Someone shouted from outside the penthouse. Come out with your hands up! Gunfire erupted, shouting, chaos, then silence. A knock on the panic room door. Mr. Hunt, this is Detective Barnes. It's safe to come out. Alexander hesitated. How do I know it's really you? 3 years ago, Emma Wilson bailed out of jail and you helped her. I told you that you were making a mistake. You told me to trust you. I did, and you were right. Alexander smiled. That was something only the real Detective Barnes would know. He opened the door. Detective Barnes stood there with a team of officers. Bodies lay on the floor, the intruders, all dead or unconscious. Are you two all right? Barnes asked. We're fine, Alexander said. What happened? Professional hit squad. Military training. Someone paid a lot of money for this. Victoria, Emma said. We're questioning her now, Barnes replied. But she's not talking. Lawyered up immediately. So we're still in danger, Emma said. Her voice sounded hollow. We're moving you to a safe house, Barnes said. Both of you, until we figure out who else is involved. They packed quickly, just essentials. Emma grabbed the photo from the package. Evidence. As they left the penthouse, Emma looked back. This place had been her home, her sanctuary. Now it felt contaminated, dangerous. The safe house was a cabin 2 hours outside Chicago, middle of nowhere, woods on all sides, one road in and out. You'll have armed guards around the clock, Barnes explained. No one knows this location except me and my partner. You'll be safe here. After Barnes left, Emma and Alexander explored the cabin. It was small but comfortable. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, living room with a fireplace. It's cozy, Emma said, trying to be positive. It's a prison, Alexander countered. A comfortable prison, but still a prison. At least we're together. Alexander pulled her close. That's all that matters. That night they couldn't sleep. Every sound made them jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. Around 2 a.m., Emma finally dozed off. She dreamed of Jenna, of Robert, of all the people who died because of the Hunt family's secrets. She woke with a start. Something was wrong. The cabin was too quiet. No sounds from the guards outside. No radio chatter. Alexander, she whispered, shaking him awake. Something's wrong. He sat up immediately, alert. What? Listen. The guards. I can't hear them. They crept to the window, looked out. The guards were gone. All of them. Oh, God, Alexander breathed. Then they saw him, a man walking toward the cabin, tall, broad. He moved like a predator, like death itself. We have to run, Emma said. Where? He's between us and the car. The woods. We run into the woods. They grabbed their phones and fled out the back door, into the dark forest. Branches whipped at Emma's face. Her shoulder throbbed, but she ran. Behind them, she heard the cabin door crash open, heard footsteps following. Split up, Alexander said. He can't chase both of us. No, we stay together. Emma, if we split up, at least one of us might survive. I'm not leaving you. But Alexander was already veering left. I love you. Run. Emma wanted to follow him, but her body betrayed her. Kept running straight. Tears blinded her. She heard Alexander shouting, drawing the man away from her, giving her a chance. Emma ran until her lungs burned, until her legs gave out. She collapsed behind a fallen tree and tried to catch her breath. Silence. Terrible silence. Then a scream. Alexander's scream. No! Emma sobbed. She had to help him, had to go back. But before she could move, hands grabbed her from behind, a cloth pressed over her mouth and nose, chemical smell, sweet, sickening. Emma tried to fight, but the world was already going fuzzy, gray, dark. Her last thought before unconsciousness was, I'm sorry, Alexander, I'm so sorry. Emma woke up in a warehouse, cold concrete floor, dim lights. Her hands were tied behind her back, her head pounded. Welcome back. Emma's vision cleared. A woman stood in front of her. Not Victoria. Someone new. Someone with cold eyes and a colder smile. Who are you? Emma croaked. My name is Cassandra. I'm Victoria's half-sister. Different mothers. Same terrible father. Another secret hunt child, Emma said bitterly. James liked to spread his seed, Cassandra said with disgust. But unlike Victoria, I don't want the hunt fortune. I just want revenge. For what? For abandoning my mother, for refusing to acknowledge me, for acting like I didn't exist. Cassandra crouched down to Emma's level. Do you know what it's like to grow up knowing your father is a billionaire, but you're living in poverty, watching him on TV, knowing he could help, but choosing not to? So, you're working with Victoria? I'm working for myself. Victoria just pointed me in the right direction, told me if I eliminated you and Alexander, she'd split her inheritance with me. She doesn't have an inheritance, Emma said. Robert cut her out of his will. Cassandra's smile faltered. What? Victoria lied to you. There's no money for her, which means there's no money for you either. Rage flashed across Cassandra's face. You're lying! Call her. Ask her yourself. Cassandra pulled out her phone and dialed. Put it on speaker. What? Victoria's voice snapped. Is it true? Cassandra demanded. Did Robert Hunt cut you out of his will? Silence. Then, how did you... Did Emma tell you that? So it's true. Cassandra, listen. But Cassandra hung up. She threw her phone against the wall. It shattered. That lying witch, she snarled. She used me. We've all been used by the Hunts, Emma said carefully. But you don't have to do this. You can let me go. Walk away. Start a new life. Cassandra laughed. A harsh, broken sound. Walk away? To what? I've already killed the guards at the safe house. There's no walking away from that. Emma's blood ran cold. Where's Alexander? Your boyfriend. Don't worry, he's alive. For now. I'm saving him for you. Thought you'd like to say goodbye before I kill you both. Cassandra dragged Emma to her feet, pushed her through the warehouse to another room. Alexander was there, tied to a chair, blood on his face, but alive. His eyes widened when he saw Emma. Emma, are you okay? I'm fine. Are you? I've been better. Cassandra forced Emma into a chair across from Alexander, tied her up. "How touching," she said mockingly. "True love. Too bad it ends tonight." She pulled out a gun, checked the clip. "I'm going to make this quick. You've both suffered enough." "Wait," Emma said desperately. "What if I could get you money, real money, more than Victoria promised?" Cassandra paused. "How?" "The foundation. It has millions. I can access it, transfer it to you, untraceable accounts. You could disappear, live anywhere you want." "Emma, don't," Alexander started. "Shut up," Cassandra snapped at him. She turned back to Emma. "How much?" 10 million, maybe more. Enough to live like a queen for the rest of your life." Cassandra's eyes gleamed with greed. "You can really do that?" "I'm on the foundation board. I have access codes, passwords, everything." It was a lie. Emma had no such access. But she needed time, needed to think of a way out. "Okay," Cassandra said slowly. "But if you're lying to me—" "I'm not, I swear. Just let me use a computer." Cassandra untied Emma's hands, led her to a laptop in the corner. Emma's mind raced. What could she do? How could she save them? She pretended to log into the Foundation's accounts, typed random passwords, made it look like she was working. "It's not letting me in," she said. "The security is different than I remember." "Try harder," Cassandra said, pressing the gun against Emma's head. Emma's hands shook. She kept typing. Then she noticed something. The laptop's location services were on, and it was connected to the internet. An idea formed. Risky. But it was all she had. She pulled up the Foundation's main page, clicked on the Report Fraud button. It opened a form that sent directly to the FBI. Emma quickly typed, "Emma Wilson, held at warehouse. Gunman. Send help." She added the laptop's GPS coordinates and hit send. "There," she said, closing the window quickly. "The money's transferring. It'll take a few minutes." Cassandra leaned over to look. Emma held her breath. If Cassandra checked the history, she'd see what Emma had done. But Cassandra just smiled. "Good girl." They waited. Emma counted seconds in her head. How long until the FBI saw her message? How long until they arrived? 5 minutes passed. 10. "It's taking too long," Cassandra said suspiciously. "Large transfers always do," Emma lied. "Security protocols." "Check it again." Emma pretended to refresh the page. "Still processing." Cassandra's patience was wearing thin. She raised the gun again. "I think you're stalling." "I'm not. I swear." "Then prove it. Show me the account." Emma's heart sank. She couldn't. There was no account, no transfer. "I can't," she whispered. "What?" "I lied. I don't have access. I was buying time." Cassandra's face twisted with rage. "You stupid—" But she never finished. The warehouse doors exploded inward. FBI agents poured in from every direction. "Drop your weapon! Hands up!" Cassandra spun around, gun raised. Emma didn't think. She threw herself at Cassandra, knocked her off balance. The gun went off. The bullet went wide, hit nothing but concrete. Agents tackled Cassandra, wrestled the gun away, cuffed her. Detective Barnes ran to Emma and Alexander. "Are you two okay?" "We're okay," Emma said. She was crying and laughing at the same time. "We're okay." They untied Alexander. Emma ran to him. He wrapped her in his arms and held her like he'd never let go. "How did you find us?" Alexander asked Barnes. "Emma's message. Smart thinking." "I was so scared it wouldn't work," Emma admitted. "It did," Alexander said, kissing her forehead. "You saved us. Again." They watched as agents led Cassandra away. She was screaming, cursing, promising revenge. "She won't hurt anyone ever again," Barnes said. "Neither will Victoria. We've got enough evidence to put them both away for multiple life sentences." "Is it really over?" Emma asked. She'd asked this question before, but this time felt different, final. "It's over," Barnes confirmed. James Hunt's legacy is finished. No more secret children, no more threats. You're free. Emma sagged with relief. Free. After everything, finally free. The next few weeks were a blur. Trials, testimony, media coverage. Everyone wanted to hear the story of the simple girl who'd survived the Hunt family curse. But Emma didn't want to be a story. She just wanted to live. On a quiet Saturday morning, 1 month after their rescue, Emma and Alexander stood in a small chapel surrounded by friends. Emma wore a simple white dress. Alexander wore a dark suit. No press, no cameras, just people they loved. The ceremony was short and sweet. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. "I promise to never run again," Emma said, tears streaming down her face. "To always choose you. To build a life filled with kindness and love." "I promise to always find you," Alexander replied. "To protect you. To make you laugh when times are hard. To love you until my last breath." They kissed. Everyone cheered. At the reception, Emma looked around at all the faces. Old friends from the foundation. New friends they'd made. Even Mrs. Patterson from the diner had come. "You did good, girl," Mrs. Patterson said gruffly. "Real good." Emma hugged her, surprising them both. Later, Emma and Alexander stood on the balcony, watching the sunset over Chicago. "Happy?" Alexander asked. "Deliriously," Emma replied. "No regrets?" Emma thought about that morning 3 years ago, when she'd stopped to help an old man in the rain. That single choice had led to so much pain, so much death, but it had also led to this, to love, to purpose, to a life that mattered. "No regrets," she said firmly. "Not a single one." Alexander kissed her. "Good, because our adventure is just beginning." Emma smiled. "What do you mean?" "I've been thinking. The foundation does good work in Chicago, but what if we expanded, started foundations in other cities, helped people all over the country?" Emma's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? We could travel, meet people, make a real difference, together." "I love that idea," Emma said. They stood there planning their future, dreaming big dreams, no longer afraid, no longer running. The simple girl who'd helped a stranger had become a woman who changed the world, not through money or power, but through kindness, through compassion, through never giving up on love. And as the sun set on Chicago, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Emma Wilson Hunt knew that every trial, every fear, every moment of pain had been worth it, because she'd found her fairy tale, not the perfect, easy kind, but the real kind, the kind that's messy and hard and beautiful, the kind that lasts forever. 6 months later, Emma stood in front of a crowd of 500 people. They'd come to the opening of the new Wilson Hunt Foundation headquarters in New York. Emma had insisted it be named after both of them. Not just the Hunt name. She wanted people to know that change could come from anywhere, even from a simple waitress who'd once walked 15 blocks to work. "Thank you all for coming," Emma said into the microphone. 3 years ago, I was nobody. I had nothing, but I had something that money can't buy. I had kindness. And I learned that kindness is the most powerful force in the world." The crowd applauded. "One act of kindness led me here, to this moment, to this work, and I want to challenge each of you to do the same. Help someone, even if it's hard, even if it costs you, because you never know where that kindness might lead." More applause. Emma looked out and saw faces from every part of her journey. Foundation employees, people they'd helped. Even Daniel Martinez, Jenna's uncle, was there, smiling. After her speech, Emma stood with Alexander, cutting the ribbon to officially open the new building. "We did it," Alexander said. "We did it," Emma agreed. That night, lying in bed in their New York hotel room, Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Her heart stopped. Not again. Please, not again. She opened it cautiously. It was a photo. A young woman standing on a street corner, She looked cold, scared, lost. Below the photo was a message. I saw your speech. It inspired me. Today I helped this woman. Gave her my coat and some money. She cried. So did I. Thank you for reminding me that kindness matters. You changed my life by changing hers. Emma showed Alexander. They both smiled. See? Alexander said. It's spreading. Your kindness is multiplying. Emma thought about that. About how one simple choice could ripple outward, touching lives she'd never meet, changing the world in ways she'd never see. I hope so, she said softly. She closed her eyes and drifted off to sleep. No nightmares, no fear, just peace. The simple girl who'd helped a man in the rain had become a woman who taught the world that love always wins, that kindness always matters, that even in the darkest times, hope survives. And somewhere in Chicago, on a rainy Tuesday morning, a young woman stopped to help an old man who'd fallen on the sidewalk. Are you okay? She asked. The old man looked up and smiled. I am now. The cycle continued. Kindness breeding kindness. Love spreading love. And Emma Wilson Hunt, lying in Alexander's arms 300 miles away, smiled in her sleep. Because her story wasn't just her story anymore. It belonged to everyone who chose kindness over fear, love over hate, hope over despair. The end of her journey was really just the beginning of a movement, a revolution of compassion. And it all started with one simple girl who helped a stranger and discovered that sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about finding a prince. They're about becoming a hero, not through grand gestures or dramatic rescues, but through everyday kindness, through choosing to see people, to help people, to love people. That's the real fairy tale, the one that changes the world, one kind act at a time.